So good evening, everyone. And in particular, I'd like to welcome Professor Thomas Kaufman, our Dean, Mr. Li Mingsan, our Development Committee Chair, and our esteemed donors and wonderful colleagues. Thank you for joining us for our inaugural Science Excellence Championing Women Researchers event. And thank you to our donors for your support in education, innovation, and research at Duke-NUS over the years. My name is Suzanne Scott, and I'm Deputy Director of Development here at Duke-NUS. We have a great program for you tonight. 4 of our leading edge female scientists will share their experiences managing their professional and personal lives in the traditional male-dominated area of medical research. As we celebrate these outstanding women, we look to encourage and nurture future students to innovate in this field, which is why we are raising funds for an annual award for the most outstanding research carried out by a female student at Duke-NUS. We hope you consider making a gift by scanning the QR code, which is on the event leaflets. Our goal is to reach $50,000 for this award. And now, please join me in welcoming our Dean, Professor Thomas Kaufman, to share a few words with us. Dean, please.
Okay, well, good evening, everybody. I've been looking forward to this all week. Glad to be here with you today to be part of this celebration of the outstanding female researchers who make greater things happen here at Duke-NUS and across our Sing Health Duke-NUS Academic Medical Center. This panel discussion networking event has been organized by Suzanne and development team, and I'm delighted that all of you could join us here tonight. And tonight we shine a spotlight on the very talented women on our faculty who are powering our school and AMC forward as scientists, innovators, and clinicians. The panel we've assembled tonight is truly a star-studded collection of exceptional women, right here in the front row, who represent the larger group of trailblazing female researchers at Duke-NUS who I'm privileged to know as colleagues. And while we have an amazing array of accomplished women at the school and across the AMC, there aren't enough of them. I mean, and that's a fact. In our medical school, there are a few more females than males among our student body. Yet when you look across our faculty and group of scientists, women are really underrepresented, and this is the case across Singapore. There are many reasons for these disparities, not the least of which are historical prejudice and barriers, but I can definitely say that a shortage of talent, vision, and determination are not reasons for this disparity, and you'll see this clearly tonight when you meet our distinguished panel. Indeed, women often need to be smarter, work harder, and do more to get ahead in science and medicine and many other fields. But certainly the diversity of ideas, experiences, and perspectives of our female faculty have been critical for fueling innovation and growth at the school and across our academic medical center. Women have always played a key role in science, but it took a while before these contributions have been recognized. When Marie Curie won a Nobel Prize in physics, followed by the Nobel Prize in chemistry, she was the first woman to win a Nobel Prize, the first person to win 2 Nobel Prizes, and the only person ever to win Nobel Prizes in 2 fields. So that was a pretty good benchmark to show that women can do some stuff in science. But she was more than a scientist. She was a wife and a mother of 2 daughters, one of whom followed in her footsteps in science and also won a Nobel Prize. We know that girls and young women interested in science, that for them, that hearing and seeing and being mentored by women who've been successful in careers in research makes a big difference. And having role models like these, I think, is really important for our younger generation. The same applies for women coming back to science and academia after starting families. The support network of role models and mentors to share their experiences and advice can empower female scientists as they navigate the process of returning to their scientific and medical communities. So tonight we're highlighting opportunities as well as challenges faced by women pursuing careers in science, and we'll learn how they've overcome these adversities in their paths to achieve success. And I'll just say, I mean, these are outstanding people who happen to be women, and we recognize them tonight because we really want to highlight the role of women and the disparities that exist, especially for women in science. So, and as a byproduct of our program tonight, I hope that our students, and I see students and alumni out there in the crowd, will feel inspired to pursue careers in research and innovation. At Duke-NUS, we're working hard to abolish gender disparities and to enhance diversity. We feel that that'll really make us stronger and help us achieve our long-term vision of transforming medicine and improving lives. So accordingly, we want to help the next generation of women reach their full potential as doctors, medical researchers, and healthcare leaders. And with your support, we hope to encourage this next generation, as Suzanne mentioned, by establishing an annual award to recognize the most outstanding research carried out by a female student at Duke-NUS. So this support will go a long way towards inspiring young women to pursue their dreams of a career in science, and I hope that you will give this initiative your attention and your checkbooks. So in closing, I want to, I'm sure you'll love the program tonight. As I said, I've really been looking forward to it. Thank you for joining us, and enjoy the rest of the evening. We're going to have our discussions here, and then we'll have a little networking, and it looks like food, maybe some beverages outside afterwards. So enjoy the program.
Thank you so much, Dean. I just want to quickly introduce our fabulous panel, because you don't want to hear from me or probably the Dean. You want to hear from these fabulous people. So our moderator is Professor Tina Wong. Tina is the head of the Glaucoma Service and senior consultant at the Singapore National Eye Center. She's the director of clinical translational research, head of glaucoma research, and co-head of the Ocular Therapeutics and Drug Delivery Group at the Singapore Eye Research Institute. She's the founding president of the Glaucoma Association of Singapore. She has received over $20 million of nationally funded research grants, holds several patents, co-founded 2 spin-off biotech companies, and received the President's Science and Technology Award in 2014. Fun fact, when on holiday, she goes to the shooting range whenever she has the chance. Professor Tina Wong. Assistant Professor Reena Dharmawan. Reena is a Duke-NUS alumna. She's a surgeon, innovator, entrepreneur, educator, former biomedical engineer, and mother of 2. She's a consultant surgeon at the Department of Head and Neck Surgery at the National Cancer Center of Singapore, assistant dean, newly appointed at the Office of Innovation and Entrepreneurship here at Duke-NUS. And her words, she's obsessed with creating value and driving positive change in healthcare, particularly in training the next generation of clinician innovators. Lastly, but not least, last year she launched the Duke-NUS Healthcare Innovator Program to great success. Reena Dharmawan. Associate Professor Andrea Kwa. Associate Professor Andrea is in the Department of Emerging Infectious Diseases at Duke-NUS. She's the program director for the Infectious Disease Pharmacotherapy Residency for Infectious Disease Pharmacist-to-Be at Singapore General Hospital. Did it. Specializes in critical care medicine, infectious diseases, and antimicrobial resistant research. She's authored more than 100 publications, presented over 150 times, and secured nearly 50 research grants. She received the Commendation Medal and Long Service Award at the Singapore National Day Awards in 2015 and 2022, respectively. She's also achieved the National Medical Research Council Transition Award and Clinician Scientist Award twice. Andrea. And Assistant Professor Anne-Marie Chaco. She's the Assistant Professor in Cancer and Stem Cell Biology here at Duke-NUS. She trained at UPenn in Philadelphia as a chemist and pharmacologist with a nuclear medicine specialty. She's an expert in making new probes to visualize disease and now leads the national consortium called, is it CITI? CITI? The Cancer Immunotherapy Imaging Program, which received in late 2018 a $22 million grant. She heads the Sing Health Duke-NUS Women in Science Network, which supports the career advancement and development of female research scientists, clinician scientists, and nurse innovators. Fun fact, Anne-Marie is a fellow Canadian. She's from Montreal, Canada, an island which is the same size and shape as Singapore, and grew up playing team sports such as soccer, and was the coach for the postdoc co-ed intramural soccer team at UPenn for 2 years. Anne-Marie. Over to you, Tina.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, everyone. Thank you very much, Suzanne, for the lovely introduction of myself and my team members here today. I'd like to just share with you first, before we kick off, that there was supposed to be another panel member. It's Professor Jenny Lowe. Unfortunately, she cannot be with us tonight for other personal reasons, but she is so committed and excited about this event that she asked me, and I promised her that I would speak on her behalf, and she's written something to share with the audience tonight. This is in her words. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Jenny, a senior consultant in the Department of Infectious Diseases in SGH and professor at the program in Emerging Infectious Diseases at Duke-NUS Medical School. Please accept my apologies from the bottom of my heart for missing this event on a subject that is very close to my heart personally, raising women in science to be leaders. Back in 1992, I was one of the very few females during my time who had the fortune to be given the opportunity to study medicine in Singapore, because back in those days, the female medical student quota was capped at 1 in 3, the cohort size. Otherwise, I would have never been able to become a doctor, as my parents were too poor to financially send me overseas for a medical education. I remembered the panel in NUS that interviewed me were all males. After graduated, I decided to pursue subspecialty training, and my internal medicine training interview, again, an all-male panel, I was asked, had I had plans to get married and have children, and if I would stop working. I do believe sincerely that the world has changed since then, and such questions are no longer considered appropriate during job interviews. And indeed, we have come a long way in our efforts to promote gender equality since the early 1990s. Many men had fought this fight on our behalves, and I want to thank all the men in the audience who believe that women are equal to men. And tonight, I am so heartened that we have many success stories to celebrate, and we can be very proud of ourselves that there are so many women scientists in our midst. But the sad truth is that we are still miles away from achieving true equality. The attrition in women going up the ranks in academia is steeper the older we get. Although in this present times, there are more females than males in medical schools, as Prof. Kaufman already said, there are global, in terms of females holding leadership roles in science and medicine, they are the minority. There are, of course, many reasons why this is so, and will take too long for me to go into it for each factor here. But my hope is that tonight, by sharing our personal journeys and struggles with you, will inspire all of you to think about how best to support us in our endeavors to raise and promote women scientists and leaders for the future. And how would you want the world to be like for your daughters and granddaughters? Because I believe with everyone's generosity, you can help Duke-NUS Medical School and become an even more attractive place for everyone, both men and women. Thank you once again for spending the evening with us, and I wish you a very enjoyable evening. Sincerely, Jenny. So I think without further ado, because we've only got about half an hour and there's a lot to talk about, we're going to go straight into the questions, and so that you can get to know our panelists here. So I think we'll start with some more personal questions, just to get the audience to have a feel of who you are. All right. So the first question really is, do you come from an academic family? And what is your scientific area of interest?
Hi, everyone. So I'm Indonesian. No, the answer is no. My family is my dad is a businessman, and I mean he's an entrepreneur. He started his business from scratch in the lighting side of things. Actually, my mom's a dentist, but she never worked. She in very Indonesian terms, she became an Indonesian tai. So she got married straight after dental school, and then because of my dad moved our family here to Singapore, she had to take care of 3 kids, and so she didn't. Anyway, her license was not kind of recognized in Singapore, so no. I'm the first doctor as well. So the reason why I went through the long way, I don't know how much time we have to talk about this, but I studied here in Singapore, but I didn't go through the direct way after high school. Instead, I went to do an undergrad first and then medical school. It's because my parents were actually not supportive of me doing medicine at that point in time. They wanted me to go into business, basically. Yeah. My interest is in healthcare innovation. So my undergrad was in biomedical engineering, and I think that was the first time I actually got involved in technology in my final year project. And so that's when I realized that it's great if we could use technology to actually improve a lot of patient outcomes. And so that's kind of the reason why I bridged from engineering to medical school, and then I guess now doing more in medical device innovation. Oh, sorry.
I think we'll rotate that one.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andrea. I do not come from an academic family. Likewise with Jenny, our parents are just fighting to keep us warm and well-fed. But otherwise, I'm right from young, I have a curious mind. I just practically love to do a lot of math problems and science problems. I don't know why. So what am I doing right now? My areas is in antimicrobial resistance. How do I come into that? Because I do see patients having cancers, have remissions of their cancers, finish a successful bone marrow transplant, but die of an infectious disease, resistant infection, which is quite, to me, sayang in that terms. All right, because they do not actually expect to die from a resistant infections. And we know that the pharma companies have all gone bankrupted, making antibiotics, and they are no longer antibiotics coming on board anymore. We need to think of alternative ways. So that's what got me driven, because I do think that there should be other ways of doing things. We should not be waking up, leave my brain at home, come to work, motorize our movements and go back home. That's something I sincerely don't believe in, and hence I love to ask questions and hoping to make sure that whatever I pursue my life in, my career in, because we spend about 40% of our life spent in careers, right? So you have to make it worthwhile. Yeah.
Thanks, Andrea. So I'm a first generation Indo-Canadian. So my parents came over to Canada, to Montreal in the 70s. Why the godforsaken coal of Montreal, I will never know. But actually, I don't come from an academic family. And ironically enough, my father got kicked out of uni because he was too much of a troublemaker. And then at 19, got shipped over to Canada to stay with his older sister, who was a nurse. So when he saw me as the first of 4 children, be interested in an academic career, he's like, what are you doing? He was actually quite against it. He didn't understand it. There were a lot of Indian professors, but no female Indian professors. So he didn't understand why I was making this choice. But then on the flip side, my mom, she loved education. She actually has a master's in education, but she actually had to get married. So she was married in India. It was an arranged marriage. And as a result, she had to give up her passion for education and her future career pursuits. So she moved to Canada and then took on the phenomenal chore and task, an opportunity of raising 4 children, which is 3 girls and a boy. So she actually instilled in us this inherent curiosity to go out, fail, fall hard, make mistakes, get up, and go do it again. So, again, probably one of my first role models on just how to go for it, go big, go home. So my passion for science started from very young. Growing up in Canada, we're always outside, get to explore nature. But it was when I got to uni, where I had a phenomenal mentor who saw my passion for chemistry and sort of said, go to the hospital, go to nuclear medicine. I think you're going to get a really good experience there. And I was actually going to school at a small liberal arts college in Canada. I was actually at a small university in Canada with 1,200 people, which was smaller than my high school. But I learned so much about who I was as a person, my commitment to learning and realizing like, wow, I get to make these radioactive molecules, again, being inspired by Marie Curie, and then seeing how I could take that to a whole nother level. So that was really the start of my career. And I've sort of followed it, however it may be, to where I am today.
Well, thank you. You hold the mic there, just hang on there, right? So I think, ladies and gentlemen, we have heard that these three very talented women don't come from any scientific background at all. And it's just sheer grit, curiosity, and internal drive, I think. So there's a commonality here between the three of you. Okay, so I'm just going to ask you, you're holding the mic, so we'll start with you this time and we'll come back this way, all right? Just another little question for you, Anne-Marie. You touched on about the role models. So do you have a role model or a mentor that influenced your decision to work in science?
Sure. So I would say that a lot of my foray into science was quite serendipitous, but a lot of it was guided without my perhaps realizing by these really important guides, if you will. And one of them was he was actually the chair of my biochemistry department when I was at uni in a little town in French land in Quebec, in Sherbrooke, Quebec. And so he was a British man, trained as a chemist, Royal Society fellow, and again, just saw how I was curious and really wanted me to push my boundaries and really got me out of that zone of, because I thought I was going to be a medical doctor. And so he's like, no, I want you to pursue research. I'm like, okay, right? So he got me to conferences. He got me speaking opportunities. I was well regarded and got awards, which is really surprising as an undergraduate. But I think what was also very surprising is I was so focused, I want to do medical school. Right? I didn't think about the alternative, like, what if I don't get in? But he, in his ever eternal wisdom, was like, Emery, apply for this graduate scholarship, which is a big award across Canada. It's like your free ticket to grad school to do a research degree, a master's or PhD. I was like, okay, just to please Dr. Yates, I did it. And perhaps one of the best decisions ever, because I didn't even get interviews to med school. And for a high achiever, I can imagine there's a lot of folks who I'm sure have been rejected. It's devastating. And it was like, what do I do now? But because
You've talked too much already.
know,
now.
Right?
It's cut.
No, but I'll project. Well, I don't know if Pooja, you want to try to get some batteries in here. So while I was going through the devastation of getting rejected, I got a letter in the mail to say I got the scholarship, which was, like I said, free ticket to grad school. Oh, thank you. And so with this free ticket to grad school, I ended up doing a master's at Western University in chemistry, in nuclear medicine. And I was like, well, I'm going to reapply to med school after a year. Okay. And the backup will be the PhD. And so, okay, after 1 year, I redid my MCATs, I reapplied, and I got into med school after 1 year. So all of a sudden, I'm a whole new person after 1 year of going through grad school. But then I got into the grad school that I wanted. I actually only applied to one grad school because it was a program that I thought would allow me to learn from the best in nuclear medicine and translational nuclear medicine. And so I made this unholy choice to my family to say no to medical school and to do a PhD in Philadelphia. And my family couldn't understand. And so my father, this is the way he reconciled. Well, one day my daughter will be a Nobel Prize winner. So it's like, sure, Dad, whatever lets you sleep at night. But it was really hard. I had the support of my sisters and my mother, but my father and the men in the family and community didn't quite understand. But again, I had the support of my mentors and all those people who really believed in what I was doing and that I could actually create impact. So it made a huge difference for me. So you never know what door will close and the other one opens.
Great. Andrea, who have been your mentors along your way?
All right. So first of all, I never expect myself to do science. So because in my undergrad years, I just want to finish my degree and quickly come out to work. I didn't go through honors program. I never got invited for PhD programs. So when I started working, I remember for the first 1-2 years, I cried a lot because I was put in charge to do the BMT ward, bone marrow transplant wards, and to see a lot of children, teenagers. They had successful bone marrow transplant, double cord, but they still died of infection. And at that point, we start seeing a lot of resistant infections then. That got me driven. Then I start looking for training. Then I actively seek out the mentor. So with that direction in mind, then I purposely put myself on a training roadmap to secure my doctorate training. And I put myself through school, self-funded as well. And then I start writing my research grant. I am very happy and grateful to people who come a long way, who helped me to improve my grant. That will be my real mentor. And the attachment I've gone through, those are my career mentors as well. They are all in US. So these are the people along the way that, though I've purposely put them in my life, but I'm also very appreciative of what they have done for me. I mean, today, what I am now, I have a lot to thank for the life journey I've been through, and for the things I've seen, and for the mission that I've set myself out to do, because I don't want to live a simple life. And my husband keep asking me, why do you want to torture myself? Okay, my husband is a clinician scientist surgeon as well. So from day one, he has been asking me to stay at home. And we have lots of argument before. Then finally he gave up. He decided to support me.
And Andrea, who is he? He should be in the audience.
He's not. He has to be with the kids. Because I'm here.
Oh, okay, all right, brownie points.
So we realized that if we do a tag team, we will have a happier marriage.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Rina?
I think for me, I don't have like one specific mentor. I think the thing about it is that I was quite early on dead sure I wanted to do surgery. So it was more of a community within surgery, a few individuals that actually I identified with, because I mean, just to name them, basically Prof. Su Kichi, Dr. Tan Yen Chai, Mr. Gopal, Melissa Teo. Again, all these they are what we call surgeon pluses. So in the sense that I again, back to previously when I mentioned with my engineering degree, and then after that to doing surgery, I was quite sure early on that I wanted to do something, a balance between surgery and innovation. And obviously this is quite new within the surgical fraternity. Most surgeons do pretty much pure clinical work, and there wasn't really a person to look up to who does mainly surgery, startups, technology at that point in time when I was training. So when I say a community of mentors, I guess these individuals that I've mentioned before, they basically had a passion outside of surgery. So for example, Mr. Gopal, my HOD right now, he's a surgeon scientist. I had people like Prof. Everyone knows Prof. Su. Prof. Su does everything. I don't know how he does everything, but he does everything outside of a lot of things outside of surgery. In my department, we have Yang Kun, who's an administrator. So it's more of the community that, you just feel, as I went through the rotations in surgery, suddenly when I went to NCC and, was under their belt, it was nice to kind of feel at home that, you don't have to only do pure surgery. So if you ask me specifically, I don't have one specific mentor in them, but I have this community of people who understands that, we all have a life outside of surgery. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's actually something that you've touched upon. I think mentors, we don't just have one. There are different ones along in our lives. And, having a nice community, I think in ophthalmology, we're quite lucky because we're sort of quite a friendly bunch, I would say. We look after each other. And even within my department, everybody is trying to help everybody. So mentors can come in every shape and form. It could even be relatives, like you mentioned as well, Anne-Marie. So, it's just, and also you can seek like Andrea did. You can seek mentors. If you really want to do something, go and look for somebody as well. And you pursue them. Like, don't stalk them, but try and just pursue them in a friendly, buy them a coffee or something. All right, so we'll start with Arena. Well, let's just dive into just a couple of more questions, and then we'll get a bit serious, shall we? So can you tell me, at any stage in your career, did you have any doubts on your abilities, or because of something that was said about you, or your persistent, you weren't getting where you wanted to, and how did you overcome it? Just an example.
Some form of resistance.
Either resistance, or you feel, why am I doing this to myself? Like Andrea's, like, why is she torturing herself? So we've already had that sort of topic already brought up.
Yeah.
Anything?
I think for me, one of the biggest, craziest thing probably was mid-career was I took a year off surgery to do this program called the Singapore-Stanford Biodesign. Took a whole year off residency, and that's kind of the year that our team actually spun off our first startup called the Preview Medical, and I got really addicted to this whole idea of, hey, I wanted to be. It was 10 years ago, 2014. Around 10 years, and I was like, hey, I could be a startup founder, and it would be really fun to go out and do this. And I wanted to quit surgery actually at that point in time, and I hit a point where I wanted to quit, but there was a lot of people who said no. And there was a lot of resistance in that point, not just from the program, but also outside in the surgical fraternity. And it was kind of a resistance that I felt. And the good thing was, again, with all these mentors, not just in the surgery side, but also in the industry side and the startup side, I think they all sat me down. A much younger Reina at that point in time, and just said that actually the biggest value that you can bring is when you stay on doing clinical practice, and I guess you could also resonate in that, you could identify more problems that you could bring out to technology. So in terms of roadblocks, I think at that point in time, I sucked it up and I just went back to residency and finished it. So to me, that point was probably the part where I was a little bit lost in what I wanted to do. But I'm actually glad that I had these people to come and sit me down like, hey, it's great. You want to be a startup founder. You have a time to do that, but maybe but if you quit surgery at this point in time, you will never get back to have this opportunity to finish doing clinical practice. And so to me, that was probably the main roadblock that I had. Yeah.
For me, the main roadblocks is, when I want to apply for MMRC grant, but pharmacist is not eligible. So that was quite a huge one. So I reached out to my at MOH level, my chief pharmacist, and we wrote a appeal letter. So, and we appealed and finally let us apply. And then there was this MMRC fellowship staff, which I have applied. I was one of the first allied health professional who applied as well. And during the interview, someone asked me, why am I asking so much pay as part of the scholarship award? I was like, so this pay is not done by me, it's done by SJHR. I don't know how much they put in. And then there was a comment behind that says that it is enough to buy an old Lamborghini. I was thinking to myself, oh my goodness, I'm not even worthy of an old Lamborghini. Anyway, so I didn't go through the fellowship. I come back. I wrote my grant. I had help in between, because right now I could then I could start applying for a grant already, and then I have another stumbling block. I don't belong to any ACP, and I spoke with several people, and they said that you have to be a faculty in order to. Once I got a grant, I have to be a faculty member, and to be a faculty, I have to be under ACP. But because I'm not a doctor, I couldn't be under ACP. So finally, I talked to Prof. Wang Lin Fa, who just started out then, and he graciously accepted me into his department. I thank him a lot. And from then, everything is just the past. I just basically sail to trailblaze for people who wants to be doing what I'm doing for my allied health professionals. Yeah.
Anne-Marie. That's a wonderful
Fun.
story. Thank you,
Thank you
Andrea.
for sharing. So challenges crop up all the time, if you will, but I would say the one that was perhaps most transformative for me as an individual was, you go through PhD training, which was not easy. I think I wanted to quit a couple of times because, again, there was still that idea that maybe I was meant to be a doctor. Why am I just doing a PhD? Anyways, lots of confusion, and also I was at the time, because I had no idea that you could even do an MD PhD. I only realized when I got to Penn and there's all these MD PhDs everywhere. Anyways, I had a little bit of FOMO, if you will. It's like, oh crap. But you do all this training, you do postdocs, you're junior faculty, and you're ready to start your own research program. You're ready, you feel ready. But the truth is, the number of publications you have and you're working really hard and just digging deep. The truth is, you need someone to advocate for you, to create the space for you, to say that we want that person in our department. And I was in a very difficult situation that I'm a PhD scientist in a clinical department. And at the time, and I would say it's still like this, it's really...
Someone's child is singing happy birthday.
We forgive you, Rita. We forgive you. So it's all good. So I was ready to forge ahead. Like, I'm ready to get my assistant professor position, and I went with my intellectual development statement, and I'm ready. And I actually had a K grant from USNIH and all this kind of stuff. But it was now the department has to be ready to invest in me. And so it was really shocking when like, well, we don't think that this is going to work, which was just, I don't understand. I was there for 14 years and it was really surprising and shocking, and perhaps forced me to take a step back, because truth be told, there were enough red flags, if you will, to say perhaps this was not my forever home, even though it felt like it was. I'd been there for so long. So it forced me to take a step back, just like when I got rejected from med school, and say, what's next? Because there was no other option, right? I'd put so much time into this. I wanted to be an academic researcher, and I wanted to really create innovation and drive innovation to the clinic. So that's when you have to start networking. And I think for many people it's perhaps shocking. At the time, I was an introvert. I was shy. To those who I'm very close with, perhaps, I'll come up. But to strangers, it was really hard for me to say hi, hello. And looking for a job forces you to go out of your comfort zone. And I think this is often a challenge for women in science. How do you, increase your confidence to just say, this is what I do. I have value. I'm looking for a job. Really hard to sometimes do that. And so go to the conferences, you network, and then it's like, oh, people are like, you're on the market. And then before you know it, all these offers. And it was the call from Pat Casey that said, okay, what's this Singapore thing? And I came over and I felt like this could be it, because here was a place, a space, people who were ready and committed to invest in me and what I could add to the school, to the country, and to nuclear medicine. So I thank, all of the colleagues I met at the time, actually the clinician scientists and the departments across the street at SGH. I was like, wow, clinicians who want to work with PhD scientists is amazing. It really opened up my eyes. And it was really tough because it also meant leaving my family. I was married at the time, and so actually led to some challenges in my marriage. And these are, the two-body problem is real, and I'm not going to shy away from it, because this is more of an issue for women than sometimes it is for men. And so this was the reality, and it was probably the toughest decision, and actually took me 3 years of really personal strife to manage. But then you come out the other end, and then you take those challenges and turn them into opportunities. For example, what we're doing in the Women in Science program in our early career scientist development program. So, yeah.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, that's a huge journey. Not over yet. I'm sure there's a part 3 to come. But listen, I think, I know I'm mindful of time, but I want to just say that, all of you have mentioned certain things that we all know is happening. All right. So now I'm just going to get to the point. I think that women find it more difficult to present themselves guys are more confident. Women are probably not too sure about themselves, or they're a bit shy, like you say. You know, it's a bit daunting as well, just to walk in and just say, "Hi, I'm really this good," and yeah, give me a job, sort of thing, right? And you know, we're more sort of emotionally, attuned. So it's not very nice to be told, "No, we don't want you," or "Not right this time." You go away and you think, "Okay, I'm not going to do that again. That was a bit awkward." Well, guys will say, "Yeah, all right, let's move on to another person and ask." And they're like, puppies or dogs. They don't really care if you say no. They'll just knock on another door. So I'm generalizing here, okay? I know there's some guys in the audience which might be more sensitive, but anyway. So, I think, what I want to ask you now is that you're all very successful women, but what sort of prejudices are you still seeing against women or female scientists or young doctors or young scientists coming through the ranks? What is it that you're seeing that really sort of, you feel it's got to change? Let's start with Anne-Marie quickly.
Okay. So maybe
You're
I'll...
thinking of what to say. You're trying to
just so
sanitize what you're trying to say.
There's so much. Okay, I think the tremendous prejudice that most of us face is the fact that we are women, and we are often stereotyped to and expected to exhibit feminine qualities, if you will. I'm raised in an Indian family, so you can imagine that having loud, boisterous girls was not quite well looked upon. We were considered very loud and boisterous. Oh well, again, thanks to my mom, she fostered that in us. And then when it's time to enter into the scientific realm, I think this idea of, that's a really great idea, but it's really hard. That's really risky. Would you use that same language for a man? And I think that if you want to be at the cutting edge, you want to innovate, you have to take risks. And they need to be calculated. And you need to have the right support. You need to think about, your SWOT analysis. What are the threats? What are the weaknesses? But the truth is, I've been in this long enough that I think I know what's ahead, and I'm prepared for what the threats may be. But it's often happens. Like, you have this big, so I lead this very large IFPP, and it's like, that's really big, Emery. That's tough. I don't know. That's a lot to manage, right? And of course, that's my first time, but we all have to start somewhere, right? And what a narrative, if you're to say, like, how can I help you? Just reframing that in a way to say, we've got your back. We believe in you. If you need us, we're here for you, versus we're very concerned for you, little girl. I got a lot of that. And I'm not joking. There are a lot of people who supported and encouraged, but there was this idea that, you're taking too much risk. But without that risk, often there's not enough reward, if you will, right? And I think those are the risks that are worth taking. And I think the same, right? And when we invest in the future, what's the risky investment? Because the truth is, that's where you get the biggest return on investment at the end of the day. And I believe enough in my science. And I've got the right team to also help me get there to the other side, that people don't see that. So I think it's just this idea that, it's okay to be loud and bold, to perhaps do it with kindness in a way that still brings everyone on board, and to truly engage the diverse stakeholders we always work with. But yeah, to not be afraid of just putting yourself out there. So yeah.
Thank you, Andrew.
All right. The mental models. So I was asked very often when I was first pregnant, "Are you going to quit your job?" Everybody will expect you to quit your job and take care of your kid. So that's the mental models a lot of people will give us. But I just want to say that, I'm a little girl with a very curious mind, and that curious mind has brought me thus far. And being a mom doesn't make me feel the need that I have to quit my job. So that mental model, though it's still there, but I just want to let everybody out there know that even if you take a sabbatical to take care of your kid, you can always return, because I believe that women has the resilience, perseverance to and be very sustained in a manner that they are very goal orientated in a sense, and we can actually compartmentalize ourselves very well in order to be an efficient female. So with that mental model of usually if you're pregnant you need to stay at home and so on and so forth, I just want every one of us to take a step back that, if you are once upon a time a little girl who has an inquisitive mind and you really, really love what you're doing, and at that point you did dream of you want to make an impact to the world, you want to change certain things, well, you should carry on with that dream. Though you may have take a step back to become a good mom for a short period of time, but because of what you have dreamed before, you have that ability to actually carry on that dream one day. So here I'm just trying to cover the mental models of what is expected of us, but at the same time, you guys out there, you need to know, you need to examine yourself. What is it that you are living for? And one day, if your kids grow up empty nested, what is it that you're going to rely on to sustain yourself? Definitely not your kids.
Right, before we jump on to thank you very much, I just want to bring a point. I want to say that for women, our careers are different. They're not like our male counterparts. Our lives are like seasons, okay? I mean, you're a little girl and you have this ambition and this dream, but along the way, other things come to your lives. You become a mum, you become a wife, but that little girl is still there. But when all these things, like when the children all grow up, you still have your dreams, and don't let anyone take that away from you, because things come and go in a woman's life that it doesn't really in a guy. The guy's always like just constant, it's just one direction. It's like, there are things, but it doesn't really bother them. But for women, it's different. I have to say as well, because I'm a mum and I'm a wife as well. But the point that what you're saying is that it's very true. I think hopefully all the female students and grads and everybody can just think about what Professor Andrea has said, because it's really important. Remember what you did in your PhD. Fast forward 20 years, you might be married with 3 kids, but you still were successful. You still did your PhD. You still have those passions and inquisitive mind. And that is going to take you to the next stage of your life. And so, it ebbs and flows, and there are various things that we have to take stock. There's been a survey which one of the residents did in SNEC, and she shared some of the comments about perceptions of women in medicine. And what the majority of people answered that if you are part-time as a woman, you are considered less ambitious. That was the majority in the survey. Surprised or not surprised? Huh? Some not surprised. Some women are shaking their heads, not surprised. Why is it that people think just because you're part-time, you are not ambitious or you don't care about your job? And this is a survey, which we're now going to go around the whole of Southeast Asia as well, to see what ophthalmologists think about women in ophthalmology. This is just ophthalmology. So if you want to trial this in science, it will be probably quite similar. Anyway, let's cut to Rena.
I actually find it very hard to answer this question all the time, right? I mean, to me, okay, we have to acknowledge the bias. The bias is there. The stats is there, right? I mean, the number of women in C-suite, it's all right there. And how can we change it? There's a lot of things that we can do. But I mean, personally for me, I actually don't feel that I mean, it's just because the way I brought up. So it's very similar to Anne-Marie, right? My parents are just like, you say what you want, you do what you want. If you want something, just do it. And then we're here to support you kind of thing. So I actually, like, growing up and through my career, I actually didn't really feel a big, I was more meritocracy. It's like, if you're good, people will give you what you want. So, and then it's very hard for me to also be, I mean, I always get this, right? So how do you juggle surgery plus kids plus like innovation plus startups plus everything? I get it all the time. But it's very hard to also be prescriptive because everyone's kind of individual. The reason why I can do it, I think one of the things Andrea brought it up, like actually being a mom, I'm very good at time. My time management is excellent, like it's very compartmentalized. Like I know like even as a resident, 7 o'clock, like it's time to go home. I always tell everybody my curfew is 7 o'clock because after 7, it's like kids' time as much as I can. I don't know how to explain, but it's very compartmentalized kind of thing. So, and then, how I do it, I have a lot of support from both sets of grandparents. Again, in Singapore, we're very fortunate. We have a lot of domestic help as well. So I don't know personally. It's very hard for me to answer this bias question because I actually don't really feel it. I feel like throughout my career, I've been very fortunate. I think it's a lot of luck for my career on where I am kind of today. Even for example, I have a deal juggling surgery and innovation. I'm not sure if most people, I tell people is I was walking down just in front of Duke-NUS here, and then I met Prof. Kaufman, and then he was like, "How are you, Reina? I just finished." And at that point, it was 2018. I just finished residency. I'm not sure if you remember. And I was just like, "How can I help you?" And I was like, "Yes, you can help me. I'm finishing residency, but I really want to do a lot more research and innovation. But I need someone to tell my bosses in surgery. I need time off to do. If you want more stories and coming up with new projects, and everything, I just need time off surgery." And he was like, "Okay, let me go back and think about it." And then like somehow so it's luck. It was really luck. Huh? What did you do? Did you wait for them to come back? Or did you check Oh, okay, sorry. Then obviously I went back. Okay, sorry. Okay, sorry. Obviously at the back end, I also Prof knows. Okay, I was like, hey, I spoke to Dean, and then you have people like Prof Chow Wan Cheng, and then at that point in time there was I can't remember her name. She's now in NUS. Ko Wen Hui. Oh, so all these people, obviously, it's all they kind of like help to create this thing. But again, I don't think personally, I really, going back to the bias question, I personally don't feel that there was a real bias per se lah. But the stats is there. I have to acknowledge it, but yeah, it's very hard to fix.
I don't know how much
Thanks,
more.
Mara, for pointing.
Yeah, thanks, Mara.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mara.
This idea of like I'm lucky. You're not lucky.
I'm so sorry.
That's great. But unfortunately, not everybody has those opportunities or has that ability to do that, And thank you, Tom, for, the male champion for women is right in front. Give him a round of applause. Right, now, ladies and gentlemen, we've only got 5 more minutes. And this is, I'm going to hand it over to the panel to say their final statement or pledge to all of you in the audience. Okay, 5 minutes. Well, not 5 minutes each, but...
She was looking at you.
Oh my God.
Anne-Marie, you start.
Sightline right there.
Okay, so the plea to our donors, and actually I would say that this is to everyone in the room, right? We all can give in our own little way, be it $5, be it 100, however much in quantum. So, you see us here representing a group of women who've actually gone through a lot to get to where we are today. We really believe in ourselves and our commitment to science. And actually, I think in our own ways, we are always trying to foster that and create more encouragement to keep women in science and to elevate them and get them to the next level. And so to our donors in the room, you give because, first of all, it makes it feel good to help others, right? Or maybe that's the naive Canadian in me, I don't know. But also because it is an excellent return on investment. When you invest in a woman, you invest in a person who is a multitasker, who is resilient, who knows how to overcome challenges, be it a scholarship, be it a named professorship, be it investing in a female scientist who's doing cutting edge research that you really want to put your dollar behind, be it you want to help as many women as you can by supporting our Women in Science network. However it may be, I think your dollar will go a very long way. And I would say that you putting that that investment in is really empowering a next generation, not just of women, but of a diverse culture, that when you have all these different people, stakeholders invested in creating greater good, I tell you, the world will absolutely change, including getting more equity and parity in all these facets of society. So that's my final pitch.
Okay, for me, well, no matter how much amount that you give is never too small. So every droplet goes into a huge sea, forms a huge lake and sea. So the fund that we envision to have perhaps is to help little girls who has given up after they have been trained but have given up their life to setting up families, taking care of kids who are very young, but now they want to come back and to be the women in science and to realize their little girl's dream before. All right, we want to help them back. So I'm sure there's plenty out there. And if Duke-NUS has this funding that's set aside, I'm sure, you have good quality women, even maybe they bring along their talented husbands as well to join this place.
I thought, Andrea, you're going to ask for another Lamborghini or a new one, which will help the women get to work on time or wherever they need to go to their next appointments. Thank you. All right, Rena, over to you.
I think separate to, I see a lot of women here and a lot of very, very prominent people part of Duke-NUS. I think one of the things that I wanted to, if you ask me last words, it's kind of, again, with not enough female mentors. Actually, if you ask me to sit here and think about the number of female mentors I had, it's not easy. Actually, there's not many. So I think one of the things, I guess, is kind of giving back and, think about also how could you be a mentor to our up and rising young woman who wants to do science, right? Again, Anne-Marie's doing a great job in this Women in Science. Is it WINS? It's WINS and all that. And again, for ourselves, trying to create a career for our young medical students who are interested in innovation, it's just simple ways on creating some form of giving back. Just to think about doing that more.
Thank you. And I think, all three of you could be mentors for a lot of other people who may not even be in your subspecialty. Like I said, mentors are agnostic. They don't have to even be, in your subspecialty to give you good, wise advice along the way in your career. It could be about personal things that you are trying to juggle. But I feel that, for everybody here in the audience, we're all here because we are supporting women in science and we believe in it. I think that's the thing we're doing, is celebrating it. And so I'd like to just thank all of you here for taking the time and spending this Wednesday evening to share this and to celebrate these wonderful, talented women and the ones coming through the ranks. So again, thank you very much for all your time. And we're going to have a short Q&A session now, so that people in the panel, in the audience, can ask the panel any particular questions that they would like. Don't be shy. Yes. Oh, that's okay. We can have one question.
Well, thank you, every one of you, to share your journey and so on. But I was particularly interested in hearing your achievement, after you were given all those help and things like, what is the thing that you're proudest in your research? Because, fundraising, we want to see the results of it. So if you could take another 5-10 minutes to share, I would appreciate that.
Oh, this is a
Thank
pitch. You. Okay, right. You got to work hard now. Anne-Marie first.
Sure. So I would say, as an early career scientist, one of my biggest achievements to date, and the one that I'm tremendously proud of, is actually after, I guess, 4 years of being in the country, it was being able to unite all these different stakeholders who could contribute to nuclear medicine around a topic that has impact not just here, but globally, and that's in understanding how cancer immunotherapy works. And with that, we were able to pitch the government for $22 million for someone under 40 who's not Singaporean. I think there was a little bit of shock and awe, like, wow, she got it. So I was really pleased by that, and it's actually been a journey of growth, because from that has stemmed phenomenal industry collaborations, including one of Tina's spin-outs. It's fostered the training of a tremendous number of scientists, and I'm about to graduate my first PhD scientist in less than a month, which for me also as an educator is a phenomenal achievement. So also for me, I also want to practice what I preach. So I put a lot of time and effort to building a team, and maybe because it's my love of team sports, putting together a balanced team to help us achieve our goals and to show my commitment to their growth and development. And by doing that, they give back, and then we all work towards this common goal together. And bigger, brighter ideas are coming forth. They have the freedom to think out loud and innovate, and I have the freedom to think out loud and innovate. And I'm excited for the future, and I don't feel bounded by what's next, which I feel, not many people have that opportunity. So I don't regret my choice of not going to medical school. and yeah, it's been full of difficulty, but I know that I made the right choice.
Okay, achievements other than grants and the scholarly outputs. One of the best thing is I have made a lot of wonderful friends, excellent relationships with my collaborators, mentors overseas. So this journey has been enriching, and that to me is the most wonderful achievement that I have.
I think for me, interestingly, it's a little bit maybe the mother side of me coming out again is so we started this program called DHIP, which I think most of you probably know about it, from scratch, right? Just we launched it last year in August and graduated our first batch of students. And I mean, if you ask me what I'm most proud of, is actually seeing these 9 kids. Okay, they're not kids. They're like basically they're undergraduates and medical students who were strangers just before August last year, and coming together and seeing them actually grow using our Duke-NUS curriculum, and eventually do that pitch just in April last year. It's something that we created from nothing, like a white paper. To me, I don't know, seeing them grow that way and seeing them I don't know, it's just this motherly thing. You feel like as though like, wow, you've like given birth to these to these like 3 teams and 9 really amazing individuals. It was a great feeling, and they wouldn't have had this opportunity if not for the team doing what we created. So to me, if you ask me, I don't know, it's this giving back and this mentoring thing. It's not as exciting to do my own projects and my own startup and my own achievements anymore, but seeing the younger ones bear fruit, I guess. It's very, very rewarding. Yeah.
I think in answer to your question, I think all the 3, panelists here are saying it's nothing to do about the awards and accolades they get. That's just along the way. They are not there to count how many medals and how many sort of like stripes they're going to get. It's the community. It's the paying forward. It's the giving birth sensation of pride of, this cohort that you start from scratch and, like being a proud parent. And so that's where I think you should really be supporting women in science, because they're so nurturing. It's in our nature. And, that's the beauty of it, is that you can never go wrong with it, because the mothering side is always going to come out at some point, and they will be very protective of their little nestlings. So that's where
I need to learn that pitch. That's amazing.
Right. So I'm pitching for you guys too, all right, tonight. But anyway, I think, with that, I mean, we're running out of time, and I know that I'm sort of keeping you away from all your drinks and so forth. But I would like to just say thank you, everybody, again for coming. And I think we will close this evening's fireside chat. And I'd like to thank Anne-Marie, Andrea, and Farina for really opening up their hearts and sharing their very intimate and personal journeys to all of you whom you don't know them. So they're doing this because they really believe in this women in science and championing women in forwarding their careers to the peak. And I think we can continue to network outside. But again, I'd like you all to put your hands together for the three ladies. Thank you.